Hey guys, it's Sam and I'm back with another video for Lawn Fawn. Today I am using Virtual Friends, Den Sweet Den, My Silly Valentine, Oliver's Stitched ABCs, Harold's ABCs, Violet's ABCs. Are you sensing a theme? And I am creating a teacher appreciation card for my son, who is currently all virtual. He's 4th grade. And I thought it would be fun to create a virtually themed teacher appreciation card. So this is it. Let's do this. And as you saw, I'm using a bunch of different sets together to create this card. I am going to start off by coloring like I usually do, which I spritz some water onto my craft mat, get my water brush nice and damp. My water brush is empty. And then I have a paper towel nearby so I can wipe off the extra color from my water brush when I use it to blend out the color. For my apple, as you could see, I added the shading with a dark brown. Sometimes if I use a maroon or a darker red, when I use my water brush to pull out the color, it just makes it pink, and I wanted a red apple. So I countered that by using my dark brown marker as the shade. And then I'm just coloring these stacks of books in kind of a rainbow order. I accidentally colored the first 2 books orange. I meant to color the second book yellow, and I forgot. It was too late. I had already added the darker shade of orange, so I'm going to bring in yellow somewhere else, but I was like, oh, well, what can you do? It works out just fine. I also stamped, I love that little mouse image for the computer, so I stamped the mouse. And what do I color next here? The computer, yes. And again, I used the same grays that I did for the mouse, just a darker gray, a medium gray, and a very, very light gray. And then a little bit of water, tiny bit. Like my water brush is damp, like a dry damp when I pull out the color. Sometimes if you use too much water with the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, they're so easily reactive to water that they just spread out all over. So it's just a very dry, damp brush when I use my water brush to pull out the color. Let's see, I used some pinks to color the book. It's going to go on top of the rainbow stack of books. And then the computer screen is where I decide to bring in the yellow. And it's nice and happy and cheery, and it's perfect. I've been coloring the computer screen so far with this set in like a really light blue, and I love that too, but I thought I had stamped the face here. Let's do yellow. Let's make this the happiest little computer screen you ever did see. So naturally, I had to add some blush to the cheeks. That had to happen. And then for my desk, I thought, well, I have pops of color with the rainbow and, of course, the apple and the yellow computer screen. So I just am going to color this a plain old wooden brown desk. Wah wah. But no, I like how it adds a nice neutral area for my colors to pop, because your colors can't pop if everything is popping, right? That's the logic I used. That's what I was going with for this. I used some dark brown. Well, first I colored the desk in my medium shade brown, and then I used my water brush to pull out the color along the whole thing. Then I used the dark brown along the edges, the medium brown again to pull it out, and then the very lightest brown to finish it off. And now that brings us to our next step, which is creating the background. I'm just using a standard A2 card front size card front. Sorry. And I'm going to use Distress Inks to add my colors. And I started with Blueprint Sketch, and now I'm using Mermaid Lagoon, and I blend those two together. I am also bringing in a tiny, tiny bit of black soot to the very top, and then more Blueprint Sketch more Mermaid Lagoon. I always go over my Distress ink blending many, many times. Under the Mermaid Lagoon is Peacock Feathers. So I ink blend that and then back to the Mermaid Lagoon and then Peacock Feathers. Probably a little bit of Blueprint Sketch. And then my last color is Cracked Pistachio. And same thing, all the layers. I just layered it all and then had it kind of, I didn't do a hard line to finish it at the bottom. I just kind of let it fade out at the bottom. Then I splattered some water on top for some texture and set that aside to dry. And now I am going to move on to part of my custom sentiment. All of the letters were die cut with Oliver stitched ABCs. And then as you can see, I'm using a plethora of rainbow colors and Distress inks to add colors. Pink and red to the T. I'm not even putting them on an ink blending tool if they're not already on one because I was feeling lazy and that's how I roll. Your fingers get way messier if you don't use an ink blending tool, but it's faster. So that's what I went with. As you can see, each letter gets its own color to complete the rainbow. And then I'm also going to splatter some water on top of that so it kind of matches the background. And also because I love doing that. That's the real reason. I love the way splatters look on Distress inked backgrounds. And the stitched lines on these letters, when you add your ink blending, they pop so much. Well, they don't pop, but I just love that little texture detail. So that's the plan. There I am splattering. And then I'm going to set those aside to dry or let them dry there. And then I'm going to use Harold's ABCs and this banner I cut with black licorice cardstock with the fancy wavy banners. I'm going to add my second custom phrase, which is for going the. So thanks for going the. And so it's I'm just using the banner itself to line up the wave of my letters, picking it up with my acrylic block, and now I'm going to heat emboss it in white so that it has a nice crisp differentiating detail between those two different fonts and everything. And that just leaves the very last part of the sentiment, which is distance. And I used Violet's ABCs for that. I already have them lined up on my acrylic block. So there's what the card is essentially going to look like when it's done. But I am going to use my Lawn Fawn glue pen and glue everything down. If you are aware of my problem, it is that I use all the adhesive on every card. So I have used glue for most of the images are being glued down directly, but the overlapping pink book, each of the thanks letters, the apple, and the banner are all popped up on foam tape. So I use foam tape and then I use glue on the foam tape. Oh, I also drew in the stem for the apple. I could have stamped the apple image on top so that it had the stem, but I thought I can just draw a little stem. And I did. And so here I am. I'm taking off the release paper for my foam tape on the letters and then just adding the glue because, like I said, I adhese. I don't even know if that's a word. I use all the adhesive. All the adhesive because I don't want it falling apart before it gets to the recipient. And I don't trust anything glue. Yeah. I really like the mix of typography. I'm not sure. The mix of fonts for my card. I really think that adds to the funness. And of course, every teacher's desk, virtual, in person, anything needs an apple, right? So I had to add that little apple. And it has a smiley face and it's just so cute. And that's my card. You can see all the details with the splatters on those die cut letters. And also you can see how I added distance to the very bottom. And it just completes the whole custom phrase for the virtual teacher this year. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to check the card out on the Lawn Fawn blog. Have a great day. Bye.